Hello, everybody. Welcome. It is UK Cowboys TV, Season 1, Episode 57. This week, we are continuing Season 1. As I say, still on Season 1. We're continuing on, battling on through everything to give you as much sports entertainment as possible, along with all the other Cowboys creators out there. So what we are looking to do going forward now is we're doing positional breakdowns each week, looking at a position, breaking it all down, looking at those players, who we think is doing what, going where, what they're going to do, contract situations, injury history, scout reports. We got it all coming up, breaking it all down. We're going to start this week with quarterback. But before we get into all of that, I want to welcome it's a full Celtic crew this week. The four Celtic Crusaders. So we've got Paul and Graham with us from Scotland, and we've got Brian, our Irish contingent there. There he is, trying to...
Good evening, all.
Hand signals, but it's not working. Anyway, we will start, first of all, guys, with some Cowboys news. So we're recording this today, which is the 2nd of June, which means we're into the post-1st June cuts and what have you. Today actually marks the official day, very sad, so sad, wipe the tears, that Travis Frederick retires. So obviously, because he's a post 1st June retirement or cut, whichever way you look at it, they actually dissolve some of the dead money and get officially $7 million back on the cap. And he counts just shy of $5 million on the dead cap side. But as good news as that is in terms of the cap space, I'm sure all four of us here are pretty sad either way that he has officially retired. Because I mean, the guy was a warrior, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. There's going to be a massive hole in the middle of that line next year. I mean, we had Joe Looney step in 2 years ago and he did a solid, if unspectacular job. But I mean, replacing a Travis Frederick is almost impossible. I don't know what everyone else thinks, but that's my take on this.
The guy was an All-Pro. What was he? 3-time or 4-time Pro Bowler? Yeah.
Well, he was pretty much in the Pro Bowl every year. Since the only year he wasn't in the Pro Bowl is obviously he took that season out.
Mm.
So you're talking about, when did he get drafted? What was it, like 2013?
2013, yeah.
So when you think about it, that's like 6 seasons, 7 seasons of being in the Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just ridiculous. And the same goes for like his counterpart Zach Martin as well. He's pretty much been a Pro Bowler as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a sad day. It's a sad day.
Definitely. And I think Zach Martin is definitely going to miss him. I mean, those two are really tight. But I mean, I think we spoke about this, about Travis Frederick, multiple times when we were talking about him, that the year for him to come back and play a season of NFL football at a high level, mind, not Travis Frederick level, but still a high level. I mean, that's just shy of nothing but heroic. Do you know what I mean?
Not just that, he did make the Pro Bowl last season, right? And he didn't make the Pro Bowl just there.
Mm.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to come back from a really terrible condition, to come back, try and build his body back up in a quick turnaround and play up to the full extent and play one of the toughest games. Toughest sports known to man. I mean, that is remarkable.
And position. I mean, you got to remember, he plays center. The center is literally guaranteed to touch that football on every snap he's on the field.
Oh yeah, and not just that. It's probably I still argue this. This is probably more important than the quarterback position. If you don't have a good center, you don't have a good quarterback.
Yeah, he's not just got to be physical. He's got to have it upstairs. He's got to know what his slide protections are, what the calls are. He's got to, you see it all the time. You see the center calling to his players around him, telling them what to do, because he's got to know exactly what those calls and audibles are as well. He's got to know the only problem the center's got is he hasn't got what the quarterback has on his wrist. He's got to know it in his head.
Mm.
Yeah,
Do you know
when
what I mean?
When you go all the way back to 2013, that pick was the laughing stock of the
Yes,
first round.
It was.
Yeah,
It
No.
was.
it was. You're right.
You had NFL Network handing out third round grades to him and
John,
so on.
yeah,
If you were to rewind it, Travis
Yeah.
Fred was just a top 10 pick.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without
Yeah.
a doubt. And
Yeah.
I think the reason he's retiring is due to long-term health. Because, like you say, to come back and play a season like he did, not 100%, but definitely 90%. And I think his body's just telling him, "You're done."
Mm.
Yeah, and it's sad. It's a sad day. But I'm sure we're going to see him around. We'll see him in
Cowboys
boxes.
experience.
Oh yeah, Cowboys experience. You'll see him there. Shout out to them, but I'll do that a bit later. Also, in other news, Aldon Smith has been training. Not only has he been training, he was training so hard he actually broke one of the weights benches.
Shut up.
Yeah, he broke one of the machines. He ripped it off the wall.
To be fair, I'm not actually generally surprised because he is an absolute unit. But really,
Yeah. He ripped. I don't know what he broke, but I read it in the news somewhere that he was working on some weights machine and he ripped it off the wall. So that's some interesting news. In other news as well across the league, coaches are going to be allowed into the buildings. So at the moment, it was only certain players. So like you had very minimal staff. I think it was like you were allowed 75 staff. None of them were coaches. You were allowed only certain players in that were like on rehab or trying to work back up from injury. But coaches are now allowed back in the building, which is going to be, I think, is it next week or this week?
it's not end of this week.
I think so.
Yeah.
So another move closer to getting NFL back on our screens. So it's very slowly getting there, which is what it's all about. But yes, interesting news, things coming along. But let's get into quarterbacks then, guys. Do you want to start from the bottom of the roster up or start from the top and work down?
We've got to start at the top.
Start at the top.
We've got to start at the top.
Yeah. All right, then. So we're talking then, first of all, about Dak. So, this is probably going to take up about an hour of the show.
Yes.
An hour long. So, first off, let's begin with Dak as the quarterback then, guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll get into some talk about contracts and contract dispute. And I've got a sneaky little take here that people have missed. So first of all, guys, Dak, give me all of you what you think generally. I'll start with you, Paul. Just generally, his strengths and his weaknesses then. What's positive, what's negative with Dak as a quarterback? Hit me with it.
Positives, he's solid, can run the ball, can pass the ball. He's very durable, for sure. Like, I don't really recall him actually taking more than, I think, he's never been taken off a game. He has came back into the game to play out for the rest of the game type of thing. But other than that, I don't think... In fact, no, there was one game, wasn't there? There was one game.
He had a shoulder or wrist.
That's right. And that was the first time ever. But even still, like... but when he is on the field, he does command the team. Like, you can tell he's got a good leadership role within that team. And all the guys do listen to him. So negatives, inconsistency. That's probably the only thing I can really say is inconsistency.
If you mean in terms of his release.
Yeah. Like holding on to the ball too much when it should have been like see if it was like a slant route. Yeah. That ball should have been gone within 3 seconds, not 5, not 6.
I don't think that's so much though him holding on. It's again because I've put this. It's his release because he tends to either release too late or release too early, and then that's when you see these balls sail. And he's not leading his target. So definitely agree with you there.
Just to kind of give Dak the benefit of doubt here, like a lot of that was down to the play calling from the mismatching with like when it's supposed to be Kellen Moore helping with that, but Jason Garrett had to get involved Because there was a few weeks in between where I'll be making the play calls, then Kellen's going to do that. Like it was like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah. And then you get no consistency in play calls.
Yeah. So, and see if there was that consistent flow. Who knows what we could have done last season? Who knows?
Yeah, you're right there. All right then, Gray, talk to me about Dak's running ability then, and just his general willingness to win, which we've seen him do many a times on the goal line. So
it's definitely a dimension that opens up. A lot of the times, you wonder if there's a spy on the defense, because if everybody's covered up outside and he sees a gap, he'll go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Being able to move with your legs and run the ball a little bit takes pressure off of Zeke, and it allows the receivers a little bit of leeway, and that you can't necessarily be in the backfield. You have to, you can't send your defense straight upfield, because if you go too far, you're going to leave holes in the middle, and that Dak or Zeke is going to exploit it. So it's definitely a part of his game that if there's nothing there, he'll tuck it and go with. He does seem to be very, very durable as well. Like we've all, the problems we had with Tony Romo in the past, you wouldn't see Tony Romo being nearly as athletic as Dak Prescott. So,
just to give you a wee counter argument there, Graham, let's be honest, we didn't have the O-line back then, and there was so many gaps that was just open. It was just pretty much Tony Romo was there as pretty much a target, just there as just like, boom, he's done.
But I would say that Dak is more likely to tuck the ball and go than Romo was.
Oh, absolutely, yeah, definitely.
It's another huge positive to his game.
So do you think then, going off what you're saying there, then do you think that this season, with a bit more play calling, we're going to see some more RPO work with Dak?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Run pass options, absolutely. Definitely. It helps free Zeke up as well. It helps everyone.
The only thing I would say is that I didn't see a lot of that under McCarthy in Green Bay.
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers is a pure pocket passer who can extend plays and break the pocket, but you would not see Rodgers go 10 yards down the field or go head first for the goal line. Aaron Rodgers did his best stuff outside of the pocket, and I don't know if Dak will do that. Dak is pocket passer or 5-yard runner. I don't know if he'll split out of, like, if the pocket collapses or so on. He's more likely to run than to juke and try and make somebody miss.
Yeah.
So I don't know if McCarthy will be certainly looking for that particularly. But if we can get the usual production out of Zeke, he can be the run option and the run pass option.
Okay, cool. In terms of Dak's projections for next season, Bri, now he was second last season in yards. Had quite a few touchdowns tied in along with some rushing touchdowns as well. Do you think he's going to get more yards, more touchdowns this season, or do you think it's going to be somewhere about the same?
I would expect a lowering in the production, because if you look at just over 4,900 yards he threw for, he had to throw for that in a lot of games because we got behind early and often.
Yeah.
And we were having to chase games. He was having to throw the ball a lot more. We didn't have time of possession. I think this was one of the first seasons where we lost out in terms of time of possession per game. Our bread and butter has always been run the ball, try and have 35 minutes possession of the game. It's one thing that Mike McCarthy's teams are renowned for, is literally playing the game right up until the play clock. At 1 second, you're seeing Aaron Rodgers snap the ball. So I think we're going to dominate there. And it's going to allow for teams possibly jumping offside. allowing for the run pass option.
Yeah.
And with the 3 wide receiver set that we're going to be going out with, you have 2 guys who can win contest balls in CD Lamb and Amari Cooper. You have 2 guys who can run. Mm-hmm. And then you've Gallup who can burn people with speed. So until we see what a Mike McCarthy Dallas Cowboys offense looked like and how he sets it up, projections are really meaningless to me. I don't think they're important at all. As I say, I expect the passing yards to drop back, the interception numbers to drop back, and maybe the Dak own rushing numbers, which have been on the decline since the second season, going back up a little bit.
Okay. Just to jump on what Brian said there, Aaron Rodgers is the king of free plays.
Yes.
How often have you seen Packers highlights and he's made somebody jump and he's been able to heave the ball downfield, and if it ends up an interception, 5 yards, bring the ball back. You can make the mistake. So I don't know. Maybe that's a dimension that we've completely overlooked. Maybe the hard count could be.
That's actually quite interesting how you just said that, because I don't really recall us for the past couple of years actually helping, like, making the defensive line jump offside.
Yeah.
Or I mean, so that could be a factor that the coaching staff are going to look to try and bring in to help elevate his game, to try and if Dak can see someone being a wee bit trigger happy on the line, he's like, I just shout the most random word that's not part of the play call and just make them jump. Then if they jump, then just free play, and if it gets intercepted, then we'll get it back 5 yards up the field.
Yeah. And like you say, it is something that's been in Aaron Rodgers' repertoire, if you like, something that he does. But if you notice, it was also something Brett Favre would do as well.
Yeah.
Which is obviously going back to the McCarthy, style, if you like. But the sticking point at the moment with Dak is a lot of people were okay with Dak when he was making all money, when he was on £500,000 against the cap each year.
Mm-hmm.
The issues we've got now is that he is demanding, should we say, in the top 3 of quarterbacks. So this is a double-edged sword, right? That a lot of people are complaining, right? But one thing you've got to look at is there are quarterbacks that were deemed the highest quarterback taking money in 2016 that are now not even in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the inflation rate being so high and so quickly and happening at just an alarming rate. Yeah. Then you've also got 2 other things. So the cap space, if you like, that each team gets goes up gradually each year. Under the new CBA, that is going to actually escalate at a higher rate. I think I read somewhere that I think by 2026, cap spaces will be above 400 million.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money, right?
Yeah.
So then when you turn around and you say, well, Dak is demanding money that is, 35 million. If you're saying that the cap is going to be 300 million, he's only, looking at what, just 10%, 11% of
11,
the cap?
12%, yeah.
Where at the moment, they're making up nearly like over a quarter of the cap for some teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Kirk Cousins, I don't know if you've seen this, Kirk Cousins, right, was not only the richest player in the NFL, for richest players in all of sports, of every single sport in the world, he ranks 8th.
Mm-hmm.
That's just ridiculous.
Do you know who's 7th? Tiger Woods.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's nuts. That's just nuts.
This has been a real bee in my bonnet for a long, long time.
Hit us with it, Greg.
Just because you play quarterback does not give you the God-given right to become the first and the highest paid player whenever your contract comes up. I am a huge fan of Dak Prescott. I think he's a top 5 quarterback. I think he should be the quarterback for the next 5, 6, 7 years. But there comes a time when you have to go, hold on a minute, Dak. There's no ring on those fingers yet. There is no ring on those fingers yet. You have all the talent in the world. We are trying to pay you very, very well. And when you look down the line, look at the quarterbacks that made it to the Super Bowl. How many of them were the highest paid? I think the 49ers broke the mold last year. That's the only player I can.
But that's a backup though. Garoppolo was a backup to Brady.
Oh yeah.
But in terms of
what he is to the team,
coming one of the top guys and then actually fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because they swallow up so much of the cap that they can't afford to build the weapons round about them. Mm-hmm. So if you imagine in 5 years' time, right? Say we do get Dak Prescott signed, and he does get his 35, 36 million or whatever. You've got Cooper on 20, you've got Dak on 35. We're going to have to pay Lamb. We're going to have to give Gallup backup money. Are we just going to roll out 5 players? You know, there's got to be a limit. My understanding is that Dak Prescott wants a shorter season, wants a shorter contract. Why? My opinion is so he can fleece us again in 3 years.
Yeah.
No, that's exactly what I was kind of thinking there, because when we were talking about the CBAs and the cap's going to go up in a couple of years' time, then he can probably if he does win that Super Bowl in that short-term contract, then you can easily say, okay, now I deserve that Patrick Mahomes money.
Yeah.
But for him to now say I want to get paid, if not above Russell Wilson and all that, I'm like, no, come on, you've not done what he's done in comparison.
Here's an interesting fact, right? That not last year, 2019, in 2018, the top 5 most paid quarterbacks were on teams that didn't even make the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Detroit Lions was one of them. Atlanta Falcons was 2.
49ers.
49ers.
Yeah.
Vikings, no?
Yeah.
And who was the 5th?
I think it was the Packers.
Yeah.
Who made the playoffs then? Who made the playoffs in that division then?
It was the Vikings. Do you remember the miracle in Spain?
Oh, so Vikings
in New Orleans.
So it was the Packers then. What?
I'd have to go back and check, but I just know that was a fact. I can remember talking about it and being like, "Wow!"
It's one of the reasons why Tom Brady has 6 Super Bowl rings. He was a good talent and he had a good head coach, but I don't remember once Tom Brady becoming the highest paid player in NFL history.
No, he actually took a pay cut. He took a pay cut
because he could afford to, though. Don't forget that.
But he purposely did it so other guys would get paid. Like as much as I hate Brady, but he is a team player. But because he's now so late in his career, he's like, you know what? I'm going to Tampa Bay. I'm going to just milk it in. I don't care anymore. I've got my 6 rings, and rightly so.
Yeah, he's going to go down there. Better offense, great weather, fresh start,
and they're already paid. Those players have already been paid, so he's there to get his money for those 2 years. But, interesting.
I mean, you have to pay. Unfortunately, it is a quarterback-driven league because it is a passing league. So, unfortunately, you do have to pay over the odds. But here's an interesting take, right? Now, Paul, you've mentioned this before, right? Mm-hmm. What is Jerry Jones?
The best marketer in the world.
So, right, he loves to have the Dallas Cowboys in the headlines, right?
All the fucking time.
All the time. So, one of the things that keeps the Cowboys in the news at the moment is the Dak Prescott news. Now, what if, right, because people are saying there's all sorts flying around, rumors about money and what have you, but what if, right, there is something in place where they're like, okay, yes, I'm willing to agree to this, but It hasn't been done because Jerry knows the longer this goes on, the more the Cowboys are in the headlines, and nobody has thought of that. Do you think that's a possibility?
That did cross my mind, if I'm being perfectly honest, because he did it with the whole Zeke year before.
Yeah.
No, let's be honest. The whole thing after the Cowboy Cam and stuff like that, he dragged it out, and when it did happen, he made some daft comments. He turned a negative into a positive, and this is kind of going in the same direction now. Maybe not as severe as Zeke in terms of making comments, but the relevance of being in the media is still the exact same.
Yeah.
To go back to what Paul was saying, the Eagles opened the Thursday Night Football. What were they talking about at halftime? Zeke Elliott.
There you go.
Yeah.
It is one of the things that they do. Sorry, go on, Bri.
I'm going to disagree with that. I don't think there's a deal in place at all, because I've said this consistently for the whole year. At no point has Dak Prescott came out and said he wants to stay and be a Dallas Cowboys and be a leader. Jalen Smith came out and said, I want to stay. Zeke came out and said, I want to stay. I just want to get the deal done. It'll be done. Dak has at no point committed himself to us and said, I want to stay and let's get the deal done. Now, I appreciate in the last month, his brother has passed away, and that's why we're not hearing anything. The guy has lost a lot of family members, and in a short space of time.
Yep.
And we've all seen the clips of his mother saying, "Let me be your story." Now it's his brother has passed away, and that's he's got to take care of his family first and foremost.
Yeah,
they're what matter to him.
Yep,
but
absolutely.
Let's flip it back, right? And I know it was either yourself, Paul, or Graham that said it. What happened 3 months ago? Ryan Tannehill got a $30 million deal.
That still pisses me off.
He has the same agent.
And it's the same agent?
Yes.
His agent is stalling and going, I can play this out. Because let's be honest about it, right? It can't be about money. Dak has made a lot of money on endorsements. The quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys is one of the most prestigious
Pepsi and
positions.
Adidas pay him wealthy.
Yeah.
Pepsi and Adidas.
Yeah. So he's not been short of money. Yeah. Yes, he's been short being paid from the Cowboys, but he's not been short of money. And he is going to make a lot more money in the future. But if he continues on, and as I say, let's give the guy the benefit of the doubt. He takes the time to get himself right after the death of his brother. Let's see what he comes out and talks about then. If he comes out in 2 or 3 weeks and says, right, I want to get the deal sorted out, we know something is going to happen.
Yeah.
If not, and he just signs the tag and says, I'm going to back myself, there is a potential he's gone next year. Because I don't think the Joneses are going to sit there and go, if Patrick Mahomes wins the second Super Bowl next year, gets his mega deal, which will be 40 to 50 million, the Cowboys are going to turn around and go, Dak, this guy has won 2 Super Bowls. You've won none. You're not getting that money.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so Dak is on a second prove-it deal. He paid on a prove-it deal this year. He's got his franchise tag. He's getting his $31.5 million.
Well, just to add, sorry, man, just to add on that argument, the thing with the franchise tag is, and I hate to admit this, I hate to agree with this particular person, but Stephen A. Smith actually said it nice. Anyone that goes in a franchise tag does actually damage of a team.
Yeah. I'm personally, sorry, Greg, go on. I'll let you go. And then
I'm going to throw another spanner into the works. You may or may not have seen, but the Chiefs are talking to Mahomes this offseason.
Yes, they are, yeah.
Yeah.
They need to get the Dak deal before Mahomes.
Yeah.
But then again, you've got the scenario where the Super Bowl winning quarterback isn't the top paid player in the league.
Mm.
There's no argument. Like they can't argue with that. Like how can Dak say, "Oh, I won my home swing," but you've not won a Super Bowl yet? Like, as much I'm a Prescott fan, I want him to be the Cowboys quarterback, but this whole negotiation, I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sorry, I had to say it. I'm fucking sick of it. I just want the deal done so we can move on and get the team bonding again, because the more this is going to play out, it's going to have more impact on the other players, not just on the offense but on the defense, because they're going to get more frustrated. They're probably like, see our bloody quarterback, man, he's acting like a right fucking prick. So I'm sorry I said it, but if that was me and if I was in the defense and I saw my quarterback, I don't get your money, but don't hold us out here as well, because remember, we're a team as well. It's a team sport. So that's my 2 cents on it.
And the only bit I've got to interject before the rest of you continue on, I think that with Dak, if they play him this year on the franchise tag, there's no deal getting done.
No, I don't see it happening. It's not going to be an Kirk Cousins situation where you got 2 years in a row. No way. And Jerry is not willing to break out the bank check for that second year franchise tag. Not a chance.
Not a chance. We can't afford that.
No.
Some of you have seen. I put up a post in the group during the week. Dak Prescott turns down $1.5 billion over
Oh, that was the best troll post I've seen in ages. Some people bite to that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if you're watching this show right now, but you guys got absolutely roasted.
Now,
go on, Brad.
75% of that was being funny during the lockdown, but 25% of that, do not get me wrong, was absolute pure frustration.
Yeah.
Because there is an element to this. There is an element to this where Dak Prescott is saying, right, I've started 4 seasons for you. I haven't missed a single game. I want paid for those seasons as well. Yeah. Because let's face it, he has been from the Cowboys, he has been an absolute chicken feed compared to the guys that he's been going up against every single week.
Yeah, I mean,
and there is an element of pay me for what I have done and what I am about to do.
Yeah. See, I can see that's the thing. I can see his argument for that, because he has done a lot, despite him being a 4th round, where he was not expected to fill in the shoes of Tony Romo and do what he did in his rookie season and get us into the playoffs on 2 occasions. I mean, and yet he's only earning with $500,000 a season, pretty much. Yeah. So I can totally understand where he's coming from, but there's you still don't have that part, that statement to say, you've got a Super Bowl, I want that type of money.
Because we can go on about Dak Prescott's talents all we like, but the cold hard January facts are, is it 1 win in the playoffs? We've had an well above average offensive line. We've had a blue chip running back. We've had a well above average wide receiver core, and we've only cracked I think it's 1 off-season win. I think it is.
Yeah.
That's when it comes down to the. Or is it 2?
1.
No, is it just the 1?
1. Yeah.
That's when it comes down to the nitty gritty for me.
Because we lost to Green Bay and lost to the Rams.
But
the Green Bay loss, we were the number 1 seed after 13-3 season.
That's right.
13-3 or 12-4. But I mean, it's hard to disagree with any of what you say. As I say, I'm just qualifying this and holding fire with the fact, look, maybe he's asked for a bit of time just to say, look, I want to deal with what's going on with my family. Yeah. And everything
also, you've got to take into account as well, with things moving slowly, is that there's obviously, how are they going to get deals done while all the virus situations going on? That's going to slow things down.
Yeah, that's true.
And agents aren't going to get with their clients. Agents aren't going to get together with teams. The whole thing just goes a little bit slower.
It's funny that you mentioned in regards to getting transactions and stuff like that done. This is we managed to get 1 transaction done. I know we're still talking about that, but we're going to move in to the other quarterback, and we got Andy Dalton. I mean, and let's be honest, that is probably the best backup you could ever ask for.
Yeah. So I mean,
Yeah.
I tell you what, let's use that as a segue. Unless you got a take,
Thanks, Graham.
Sorry, what? Just to chip into the segue, I have seen quite a bit of talk on Twitter in particular. Trade Dak, start Dalton. Now this really gets under my skin as well because a lot of people that are saying that don't actually know how the franchise tag works. Right now, Dak Prescott is not a Dallas Cowboy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Dak Prescott can do whatever he likes.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to sign anything.
Yeah.
He is not a Cowboys player until he signs that tag. So we cannot trade him until he becomes a Cowboys player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So,
And
I mean,
just as an add-on to what Graham is saying, who can we trade him to? Who is going to come to us with a package that we want and give him a package he wants? He's laid it out. He wants 35+ million a year. I don't think there's a team that has that. Now we can get into the specifics of how the contract will break down in terms of first, second year, third year payments, but no team has that cap space right now to make that move, and no team is going to give up the draft capital it's going to require because let's be honest, I'm not moving Dak Prescott unless I'm getting 2+ first rounders.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So who's going to come to me with that package? I can't see anyone. No. I think there's only one team that might do it, but I don't think they will. And the team I'm thinking of is the Patriots.
Yeah, words right out of my mouth. Yeah,
it's the only team I can see that's sitting out there going, they're going to start Jarrett Stidham, who hasn't played a game. Really, Bill Belichick. That's just, I can't see it.
But they must believe in him though, because they went through the whole draft without addressing it. But like you say, the Patriots don't pay top dollar for anybody.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
They're probably the most stingiest when it comes to paying players.
Yeah.
I thought Cincinnati were bad, but no.
And yet, look at the rings they've won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. It just shows you, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, I mean, Stephen Jones has come out and said, look, if you overpay for a player, it, for one particular player, it can affect you. But on the flip note of that, I'm sitting there going, but you've overpaid for a pass rusher who at one point was not going to make a roster spot because he was not playing the best. You've overpaid for him, and then you overpaid for Zeke. And then this is the crazy bit that I don't get with it all, is then they go and pay Amari Cooper top wide receiver money, but then they're afraid to pay the guy who's going to throw him the ball.
But just to counter that argument there, like Cooper took a reduction from other teams that offered him money.
Yeah, he did.
He did. He wanted to play for us.
He
still wanted to get paid, but he was getting offered a hell of a lot more from other teams. But he decided to play for us. So I had to add that in there.
Yeah, take note, Dak.
Yeah, and to be fair to Cooper, he said it last off season. He says, "I want to get the deal done with I want to stay with the Dallas Cowboys."
Said it throughout. Yeah.
As I've said for everyone, they've said, "I want to stay. I want to be here." Where's that comment? Where's that commitment from Dak Prescott? It's missing in action.
Still waiting.
I think it will get done. Regardless, I think it will get done. But moving into the segue as we were trying to, but we came back again, is Andy Dalton. Who wants to give me now? I'll ask somebody to give me whoever wants to put a hand up. Dalton's strengths, but just before we get into that, I just want to say that he's TCU's most decorated quarterback in a while, right? He's played for over a decade in the NFL for a bad Bengals team, and did really what you could say as being he did the best he could and kept that team from being even worse than what it could have been. And this year, when he became a free agent, he was literally at the top of the list of most valuable free agents. There was the Bears. You mentioned the Patriots. The Patriots were a team that were going after him. There were a number of teams going, and he decided to come to the Cowboys on a relatively cheap deal. And the fact that we cut Cooper Rush meant that they could almost they cut Peter to pay Paul, if you like. Not you, Paul. But Graham, give me give me what Andy Dalton does, which is his strengths, his positives. What are they?
I'm going to give you a bit of video to go and watch.
Yeah.
If you Google Andy Dalton top plays 2015, that will be a pretty good bit of tape to go and watch. I can hear people screaming at you. Yeah, that was 5 years ago, but there's a reason why Andy Dalton is a backup. But if you go and watch the 2015 top plays, it's an NFL. It's not a fan thing. It's an NFL.com produced bit of video. 3/4, I would say maybe 6 or 7 of the top 10 plays are long balls, deep balls over the top to AJ Green. 2 of them are 10-yard rushes for touchdowns. And all the time I'm going, hang on a minute, that's quite like Dak Prescott. You know, it's very interesting to see. We'll get on to why he was released and all that kind of stuff. But if you're looking for talents, go and watch the 2015 tape, because you can see why the Cowboys pursued him. With a decent running game, he has quite a strong arm over the top. He will get the ball there. But I just wonder if there's a little bit of similarity with the decline of AJ Green to the decline of Andy Dalton, because it seems to tie in. If you were to ask me who the Bengals receivers were at the moment, I could tell you a couple. I could tell you John Ross. Don't even know if he's still there.
He's still there.
Again, weapon over the top. AJ Green has got his troubles, didn't play at all last year, and I drafted him in fantasy, which was a bit of a sore point. We'll leave that for
I wouldn't touch him with a barge pole, to be perfectly honest.
Well, I drafted him in the 6th round. I couldn't look past him in the 6th round. Anyway, that's another podcast.
I think I read somewhere AJ Green in the last 2 years has played 9 games.
Yeah, that's right. And he was Dalton's favourite toy. And you can understand why there's been a certain decline there. But I still think the main reason he's not a Bengal is because they couldn't pass on the future at number 1.
Yep.
There is a draft politics involved.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, the Bengals were poor all over the field. It's not just Andy Dalton that was holding back from the Super Bowl.
Just to add that argument, don't give it they actually had an okay O-line in the first 4 seasons with the Bengals, and Dalton actually did all right, and most of them were all winning records. I'm looking at the stats now. When did Dalton get drafted? Was it 2002? Sorry, 2012.
11.
11.
Yeah.
Right. So the first 5 seasons, he got to the playoffs: 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, 10-5-1. Which was a draw, and 12-4. Then it declined from 2016 onwards.
Yeah.
But the only thing is, they never managed to win an actual wildcard playoff game. That's the only thing. But just to kind of add to that argument, it's you had even though he had AJ Green and stuff like that, but the O-line was absolutely terrible. He took some hits, and he took hits and hits and hits, and and this is kind of going to be a weird comparison, and I don't know if you guys would want to agree, but it just reminded me of Romo back in the day before we had no O-line.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, one of the issues that Dalton has that ties in with what you're saying, Paul, is that yes, he didn't have an O-line, but one of the key problems with Dalton's game is his decision making post snap, right? Very much kind of like Goff. That he's not going to read the field quickly, and if you don't give a player like that a decent O-line that can just give a split second to help with the decision-making process, then a player like Andy Dalton and Jared Goff as well, they do tend to fail. Now, going forward, a bonus for Dalton in the Cowboys is the 2 things they do have that's quite strong is A, an O-line, and B, a good running back that can help relieve the pressure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely unrelated, but I think Joe Burrow is going to suffer. That's what I'm thinking.
I think so too.
Yeah, I think it's going to go one of two ways. Like the biggest thing, and I've said this before, the biggest thing with Joe Burrow is his confidence. He's just draped in confidence, and the moment he gets on the field, he's got this mind frame where he's practiced, he's trained, he's gone over film tape so much prepared. He's just draped, he's oozing confidence, and I think that you put him on a Bengals team where he starts getting sacks, he starts missing cues, missing throws. Receivers are dropping balls. I wonder what that's going to do to his biggest strength, which is his confidence. I just wonder what that's going to do to him, and I think that'll be the biggest chip for him.
Let's not forget, in 2019, Cincinnati Bengals drafted Jonah Williams with their first pick in the draft. He didn't play a snap last year. They've also taken our former left guard, who they're playing at right guard, in Xavier Suafilo. Yeah. So they have some talent coming into that O-line this year. So I think that it's going to be slightly stronger, but I do agree with you in terms of Burrow. I think it could be a knock on his confidence that he's getting back. That's not controlling games.
Here's another stat for you. Week 1 of the Bengals season, they went into Seattle. Dalton completed 35 of 51 passes, which is mental. Having to ask your quarterback to do all of that, right? Screams to me you have no running game. Threw for 418 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, had a QB rating of 106, and they still lost.
That's ridiculous.
They lost 21-20 in Seattle.
Do you remember the game where Tony Romo threw all his touchdowns against the sign-off against bloody Peyton Manning, the Broncos game?
Yeah, the Broncos, yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. Like I think we're both quarterbacks no over 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were close.
And we still
either
lost.
Over, yeah. Either 450 or 500. But just before we do turn into a full Cincinnati Bengals podcast, what Brave said there about their 35 and 51, I've had people slate me this offseason for saying, how the hell is Joe Mixon a top 10 running back? The guy has not had any production, but I'm getting slated for saying he's not top 10.
He's not.
But anyway, let's move along with Andy Dalton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's now one of us. Now one of us.
I mean, the thing you've got to look at, though, is in terms of what Andy Dalton is he is playing, whether you like it or not, backup. That gives the Cowboys probably the best backup quarterback in the league.
But for Andy Dalton's mindset, he is going into a much better environment.
Definitely.
Much better environment. He's got more solid tools, more reliable tools than what he had with his previous team, which we're not going to mention anymore. And he's got a blue chip running back where he's never really had that before, and we were just saying that Mixon is not top 10. I don't care what anyone says. I don't think Mixon was even worthy of being picked that high. I think they messed up a couple of opportunities with running backs before in the previous years, but whatever. But at the end of the day, Dalton's in a great scenario. He can help, like Danucci, who we'll talk about as well. Yeah. But also there could be something that he can actually help Dak with as well. Mm-hmm. Like it's like, don't do what I did back then, because this will make you go down to the ground or whatever, you know what I mean? So even though remember people mocked us when we brought Mark Sanchez in.
Yeah.
Right.
Sanchez.
Yeah. But humble, right? Remember when people said we brought he was there just to be observant. He was brought in just to say, don't do this, don't do that, because I did that before and I screwed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those type of wee pointers, the things don't do, help a quarterback substantially.
Yeah. And you definitely see, I think, Dalton on the sideline when Dak's there, he'll have a headset on without a doubt.
Yeah.
It's going to be Dak's eyes. But you mentioned it. Go on.
But before this, I can hear the critics already. Before this becomes the All Hail Andy Dalton podcast, there is a reason. Nobody traded for him. Let's face it, nobody offered the Bengals anything before the draft. And like Paul said a couple of weeks ago, there are some horror throws. You think, that's a panic. You panic there. So there's a reason he's a backup.
Yeah, and I think the reason we brought him in, and I think this is feeding off both your points, is they intend to use him as a game manager if he has to come into a game. They're going to tell him, you hand the ball off to number 21, or you have the protection, you let your receivers get open, and you make sensible throws. He's never had that before, so he can manage a game like that.
Yeah, complete it or throw it away.
Yeah,
basically.
Or into Rosette.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty sure you could probably do that. Like, let's be fair, he does have a cannon for an arm. He does have that.
Which at AT&T is some effort.
Yeah.
Who was the punter that kicked the ball and actually hit the Mega Titantron? Was it Dan Bailey?
I can't remember.
No, it was an away.
Could you imagine if a quarterback threw it and hit it?
It was an opposition punter, wasn't it? That hit it. I can't remember who.
Was Treadway?
I don't know. Name escapes me. I can remember, and then they had to raise the TV up by a few inches or a few feet. But one of the things, the names you mentioned was DiNucci. So we've got two other quarterbacks that are really, I think, your QB1 and your backup quarterback are set. I think that's fair to say. Now, the next two make an interesting battle for QB3, right? Because one, I think, will go to a practice squad. Yep. And the fact that we get the extra two players on the roster, I think they're going to keep one on their, what was 53, but now 55. I think they're going to keep them. Now, you've got DiNucci, Ben DiNucci, which the Cowboys took in this year's draft. They were the last pick. And Clay Thorson, who's been on the practice squad this year. Both players have some very similar traits in the positive bracket and the strengths, in the fact that they both have big arms, both determined, and both have relatively good size for a quarterback.
Yep.
So Ben DiNucci, funnily enough, has been comped as being a bit of a big Ben Roethlisberger. The other comp for Clay Thorson, ironically, is Andy Dalton. So you've got two very similar players. But here's the question for you guys. I'm going to let you battle it out. If we keep a quarterback on the roster on the 55 and we put one on the practice squad, which one is it going to be? Go.
Ben DiNucci will be the backup, like third string. And the reason I'm saying that is because that was a Mike McCarthy pick.
Yeah.
I know that it's been narrow-minded, but he he wanted him from day one, and the fact that like he even talked about he was surprised that he managed to get him in the 7th, and I didn't even know anything about the kid, but that just goes to show how much research and development he's done into scouting these players. Like he's took a whole year out from coaching to do this research, so I trust him and his judgment in this. So if he was to, like, if DiNucci does become QB3, then I definitely see that being that's the case, like all due to Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, Paul's spot on. There were higher reputation quarterbacks available at the time, and they went for DiNucci. So Mike McCarthy has seen something in the tape. He also loves a project. The amount of Packers backups that have gone on to start somewhere else through trades or whatever. McCarthy loves a project. So long term, we'll see what we can get.
Just like doing some basic digging around on DiNucci, right? Here's some interesting facts for him. That he finished with a 71% accuracy, right? Which is
that's pretty good.
That's pretty good. But as a starter, right, he is 23 wins to 6 losses. And he was in the FCS championship.
Yeah.
And then, go on.
I think we're also forgetting one of the most important things. He was working with Mike McCarthy's brother.
Yeah.
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 I knew somebody was going to say it.
Yeah.
He does have miscues. He does
Yeah.
have miscues. And the loss in the FCS Championship was an interception which turned into a pick six, which,
Ouch.
was a miscue as well.
Yeah.
But in terms of Clay Thorson, right, he had a very similar college career in the sense that he took Northwestern in 2018 on a bit of a title run in the Big Ten. So there's very similarities there. The only thing I will say that Thorson, mind you, has over Ben DiNucci is Thorson played 4 years in college and he's had a year on the practice squad. So there's more experience there.
Yeah.
But to go back to the 71%, that's not to be sniffed at. I mean,
no.
A lot of people will say, but against what level of cornerback? There's so much goes into that 71%. Not only have you to beat your cornerback, but you also have to get the receiver to come down with the ball. So he's not running in there with a group of top receivers. So
no, exactly. Yes,
it
works. It swings both ways.
A high percentage throws, which is obviously what we want, not turning the ball over. So you've got your level of receiver you're working with, the level of corner, and the completion. So 71%. That's not chicken feed. That's really
great.
Good.
Yeah.
I do think, though, if you look at the two, I think to protect Ben DiNucci on the practice squad, unless they put him on a high, because the practice squad cap, if you like, the budget they get for that, they can use how they want. So if DiNucci does go on the practice squad, he'll be on the upper side of what he gets paid. But the issue we've got with Thorson is, although he has the more experience, he did have an ACL tear whilst he was in college, and he was deemed as a bit of a mobile-ish quarterback. But one of the issues he had is he went 27 games with 27 interceptions. And for the Cowboys that like to manage the ball, we don't know what he's done, what he's worked on, mind you, over this next year. And I think that of all the quarterbacks in terms of battle of roster spots, I think these two are the ones you're going to want to watch. One of them, I think, is definitely making the roster.
Yeah, the 27 interceptions, that can get amplified really, really quickly in the NFL. So that can hold you back.
And bear in mind, that's in the Big Ten, where there are no cornerbacks.
Yeah.
I
still agree.
Are you mixing it up with the Big 12?
The Big 12 have no cornerbacks either.
Yeah. No, I mean, Ohio State always have cornerbacks.
Ohio State always have.
But Northwestern don't. They only play every other year against Ohio State.
Yeah.
But no. I'd agree.
To answer the original question, I would say that, you could almost say that Thorson hopes he gets cut early so that he can go and compete somewhere else. Because is he going to see much of the field in pre-season, if at all? Is he going to get a chance to shine somewhere else?
Well, when you think about it, if you throw, I always tend to think, like, when you're like, this is what I would think as a coach, if you're in a pre-season and you've got 4 quarterbacks, obviously you don't do your starter, but you give your backup those 2 first quarters and give a quarter each to the other quarterback just to see how they get on. But that's the way I would try to see it. But I mean,
you got to know as well that there's 5 pre-season games, so you got longer to judge what you're going to do with these quarterbacks.
And there's also longer before we have to make the cut down as well. I think they've given us an extended time frame this year for it, so you're not having to make that 75-man cut or to cut to 75 as early this year. I think after game 3 we're making that cut, so there's still plenty of time.
So I tell you what then, Nick, give me your predictions then. Right, we know that is QB1 and Dalton's QB2. Who's going to be QB3? I'll start with Graham.
DiNucci. Yeah,
DiNucci. All right.
This is presuming that Dak
all right,
Prescott
Paul,
signs
what
his
have you
tag.
DiNucci.
Yeah. You going DiNucci too? All right. What about you,
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, DiNucci. And then Thorson or AN other comes in on the practice squad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, there is obviously, yes, there is still, while we talk this, there is still a chance the Cowboys could take another quarterback. You just don't know what will happen.
Yeah.
Nothing is certain.
Yeah.
No, that's very true. But as far as things go, that's going to be a talk for when we get to training camp. Hopefully that will go ahead on time. But for this week, that wraps up the quarterback position. Next week, we'll do running back, guys. Just a quick shout out, though, to our sponsor, Cowboys Experience. Make sure if you go to a game this year and they allow people in the stadium, that is, you book your tickets through Cowboys Experience. We've had many a UK Cowboy make the trip, go to their events. It is amazing. Trust me, it's worth every penny, and the stadium tours and everything that goes along with it. When you make the booking, make sure that you use the booking code with them, UK Cowboys, to receive a free gift. But guys, if you haven't got anything more, anyone got anything to add here?
Go Cowboys.
We all good? Go Cowboys.
Welcome.
That is it. Yeah, put out those fingers down.
I don't be set on Dak signing that tag.
Nah, I don't think he will.
Yeah.
I don't think he will. If they don't make a deal, he'll end up sitting out, and they'll just make him sit.
Which would be an
kind
absolute
of like what they did
tragedy.
with Le'Veon Bell and the Steelers. They're just like,
Yeah.
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 It's amazing how a human being can turn down $30 million.
To be
Incredible.
honest with you, if we, going back to that, you have to remember the Cowboys did try and sign him last year, and he turned that money down.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
They haven't tried. But we'll wait and see what happens over the next few days, weeks, months. You never know what's going to happen. But from all of us at UK Cowboys and UK Cowboys TV, that is it for this week. We will see you all again soon. And obviously, with everything going on for everyone in America, we hope you all stay safe over there and not getting into too much trouble. But from us, we'll see you all again next week.
Cheers.
See you next time.
Good night.